Well, welcome and thank you for joining us. I am here with Rachael Ritchie, who is the editor and compiler for the Crux Anthology, and we're going to be talking a little bit about the Crux, a little bit of the story behind the stories in here. And Rachael, if you will just go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and introduce this book.
All right. Well, my name is Rachael Ritchie. I have been a published author for, let's see here, 5 years. Well, sorry, I should have thought about that sooner. 4 or 5 years. I can't remember exactly how long. I published my first book, The Beauty Thief, self-published it, went through the whole process, and then I kind of went from there. And along the way, I've also did this anthology. Now, in between all that, I'm also a wife of almost 20 years. It'll be 20 in September, and I've got 4 kids. The youngest is adopted, and we homeschool her, so that's a big process in and of itself. And then I also, besides publishing my own stories, I also work part-time as a graphic designer for other authors, and also for a local tech company here in Spokane, where I live. Is there anything I didn't cover?
No, I think that's great. And I will say that your design work is wonderful. Rachael is working with me right now on my cover, and she's made me cry several times.
Oh, I love hearing that.
I know. I actually had a reader tell me that about my book today. I was like, oh, I kind of love hearing that.
Right.
There might be something wrong with us. I don't know.
I think it's good, though. It's well, good that we care that much about our work that it affects us that way.
Exactly. So tell us a little about the Crux and how it even came to be a thing.
Well, it's a kind of long story, but like anything, the ideas, they probably start for most people in the back of your mind, and then something might trigger it to where you're really thinking about it. And since I started blogging, I've always wanted to help other writers as I learn, to help them learn along the way about the writing process, or like what it takes, and to not get overwhelmed by the process. Because constantly what I'm hearing from other writers is there's like so much to do, I don't know what I'm doing. And they get so wrapped up in that fear of moving forward that they get stuck where they're at. And I just don't want people to feel that way. So I started kind of encouraging people, just take it one step at a time. And here's what I did for this one step, and so on and so forth. But the more I did that, the more I thought, I want to go beyond that. I really want to help people get to the point where they're publishing their work, that they're seeing it in print, and that they're confident that they can do this, and that there's other people just like them who have those same fears, and they can work together. And the Crux Anthology it started out as the Adventure, Science Fiction, and Fantasy Short Story Contest. Long name, ASF Short Story Contest.
Yes, that abbreviation's so much better.
ASF Short Story Contest. So I got on my blog one night and I was like, I've had this idea and here's what I want to do with it. And a lot of people wrote back and said, hey, I would totally be on board with doing that. So I started doing some research, and then a couple months later I said, okay, it's official. We're going to have this contest. And it took a lot of research to begin with to get that all off the ground. Sure. Learning how and what are the legal sort of things to do. And of course, I'm not a lawyer, so I just researched everything based on other writing contests from official companies, and saw how they did it. And then I looked up some of the laws and the wording that's required, and it all happened from there. And of course, from that, I went ahead and started advertising it and sharing it, and then other writers I know started sharing it so we could get it off the ground. And lo and behold, people from all over the world entered this writing contest with their short stories, and it just kind of went from there.
That is so cool. I love that you did that. And, one of the things that really drew me to it was the fact that I could tell you had done so much research into the legal part of it. I was like, this girl knows what she's doing. Like, this is legit. And the fact that the profits go to Compassion International, those were two of the things that really drew me to it. In addition to the fact that I thought you were really cool, I was like, oh, she's so neat.
Thank you. I'm just a really big nerd.
Which I am too, so.
For in the same boat. We're going together. Oh, yeah, I was nerdiness coming out.
Love it.
I tend to use a lot of, I don't know, metaphorical speech, I guess. I don't know. Everything has an idiom. When it came to writing, yeah, that was really important that I research it and I make it legitimate for everyone who is involved and not just something for me, because I wanted it to be something that could be used continually as a tool for writers and for Compassion International, which was the oh goodness, my mind is blank. The charity that I wanted to choose, because they're an international charity. They help children all over the world. They don't just give them food and give them clothes and give them water. They do those things, but then they also go above and beyond, and they give them an education, and they help them make a difference in their own lives for their future, which I think is really important when it comes to doing charity work. You know what I mean?
Right. You can take bottles of water, but there's so much more that's needed.
Right, exactly. So I really appreciate that about that charity. And then marrying that with the anthology meant that we could not only help Compassion International with the proceeds, the profits from the book sales, but then I could also help a lot of authors get their work out there. And in an anthology like this, a bunch of short stories put together, all different, all written by different people from around the world, means that these people who maybe some of them are known and some of them are not known can reach a new audience and also put their work out there in a way that's short and sweet so that someone can say, oh, I really like that. Let's see what else they have.
Right.
And I loved that. That was encouraging to me too.
Yeah, I think that's really cool because, as a reader, you get to have an opportunity to, like you said, get those little bites from all these different people, and you may just discover a brand new favorite author that way. So I love anthologies and stuff like that. Exactly.
The anthology was really cool getting it started. I know that you had kind of asked what got it going. After doing all that research on setting it up, I, of course, had to find a couple of extra judges that would help us to judge the stories, because it wasn't going to be enough if it was just me. I definitely needed some other voices and minds coming in on it. And so I found two great authors that I have enjoyed their work. And I've done a little bit of collaboration with them. And one of them was Morgan Wylie. And I have a couple of each of their books here, so I thought I'd share.
Wonderful.
I haven't read this one yet. This is new adult. This is a young adult series. And I have read all of the books in this series. I have the rest of them on ebook, but I had the first one, so I wanted to share. This is Morgan Wylie.
Okay.
She was one of our judges. She actually lives here locally as well. She's from Spokane, Washington. And when I reached out to her, she was so excited to help and see where that went. And she had a great time reading the stories. And then our other judge that we ended up finding was Claire N. Banschbach. Now, these are, probably should show the first book in each series. These are two of her published series right now. She has the first two books in her The Fairies of Myrna series, and then these are young adult books, good for middle grade too, I would say. I've enjoyed both of them. And I have the old cover of this book too, so I really liked it. And then this is her young adult series called The Rise of Erdor. I'm not really sure I say that right, but hopefully.
She'll have to correct us.
Yeah, and she's got another book I'm really excited about that's coming out. Yes. That's coming out with Crosshair Press, and that book is called The Oath of the Outcast. So keep your eyes.
You remembered that. Yes. So I have not read any of Morgan's books yet, but I have read Claire's two, Adela's Curse and the Wolf Prince. The Wolf Prince. Yes, in that
and
series.
She's working on the third book in that series right now.
Yay, so, I'm so happy.
It's called Winter Spell. I don't know if I'm supposed to tell you, but I just did.
Oh, no. Well, I love it.
I think it. So I think we're good. But, yeah, so the judges were a huge part of putting it all together, and they took on a ton of work. They went through and read all the top 10 stories, and not only did they score them based on the scoring sheet that I sent them, they also were kind, and they gave remarks and comments and tips about writing, so that was really
wonderful.
fun.
That was super special. Yeah.
It really is. I agree.
Yeah.
Got all
So,
kinds of notes here.
it's been fun to, like, as this whole process has gone, like, to get to know everyone in the Crux, part of the Crux crew, like the judges and the other writers and stuff like that. It's really been neat to meet all these people from all over the world that never would have met before.
Exactly.
And we have things in common. We have the written word in common, and we have the love of stories in common, and that's super exciting too.
It is. I totally agree. Your story got second place overall, which is amazing and fantastic. We loved your story.
I totally cried when I heard about it.
I think that's great. What was it? What was it about that story that made you decide to submit that one to the anthology?
Oh, goodness. Well, it was okay. So your cover, because Rachael designed the cover, so it's gorgeous. It's just, yes, it is absolutely gorgeous.
Oh, there's some
and
so
so
you can see my kitchen.
There you go.
Down here is better. Nope, can't see it down there. Here, we'll turn it upside down.
Let's see. Maybe hold on.
Got less
Here we
glare.
go. Do I have less glare? There we go. So yes, it is gorgeous. And the cool thing is that I think every author has mentioned how the cover inspired them in some way with their story, or they found a way to pull it in to their story in some way. So I swore up and down that I would never write fantasy because I am a huge Tolkien fan. Like, Tolkien is just, and he did it perfectly, and I don't know why I'm bothering because he was amazing. So I always said I wouldn't write fantasy for that reason. And I guess it's been 3 years ago. I like to say I had fairies came and sat on my shoulder and started whispering to me. And that's how this whole story about Elspeth came to be. So when I read about the competition, I didn't have this written yet. It was in my head. And I knew, because this is going to be part of a larger series of books, and I knew where I'm going with it. Like, I know where it's starting, I know where we're going, I know what Elspeth's going to do, I know most of the spoilers. And this was the scene, though. Like, okay, if I'm going to write a short story, like, this is it. And so this is when she comes to the temple and she begins her process of training as a fairy shepherdess. And so I actually sent Rachael a message because I was like, oh, I realized that this is a little, like, more, I don't know, high, epic. I don't know what the term would be because everybody has a different definition. But this may not fit necessarily. But she said, oh, just turn it in and we'll see. So.
Well, it's a good thing you did.
Yeah, exactly. But, when I was, I have a lot of trouble. I don't necessarily see my settings as far as, like, I can picture the nature, but if it comes to, like, buildings, I may not necessarily be able to picture that as I'm writing. I mean, I kind of know what it should look like, but it's not as clear for me as, like, some other parts of writing are. And when I saw your cover, I'll be 100% honest, that inspired me, and I was like, okay, well, that's what the temple looks like. So that's Elspeth's temple. And so that's kind of where it came.
Other things for other people. It's perfect. It worked out really well. Yeah, and I think that was one of the things I loved about all the stories coming together. And one of the things that made it cohesive was that everyone tried to incorporate something about the cover into their story. And so it's almost like this little scavenger hunt that you can do through all the stories to find out, oh, that's from the cover. Oh, that refers back to the cover.
Yeah.
That was a nice cover.
Exactly. I love it.
Yeah, me too.
So what was your inspiration behind your story? Because you have a story in here, too. We were talking about how that was a surprise that you put your story, The Forever Door, in.
I did, yeah. I did not put my name on the cover other than as the editor and compiler, because I did do all the cover design and all the interior formatting and all that kind of stuff. But I was like, I don't want my name on there twice, so we'll just put it on the bottom. It's good. So then I was like, we'll just make my story a surprise at the end, right? I stuck it in there. I was also inspired by this picture. In fact, that's really where the impetus for the actual contest came from, was from this cover. I was like thinking to myself, I have teenagers, so if I say like too much, just let me know. I looked at this cover and I thought, oh, there's so many stories that could come out of that. That's a great cover for stories. There's something in there, right? And so
Absolutely.
I started my story based off of things that I love. So archaeology, I'm just totally amateur about all this stuff, and I just research as I need things and build my knowledge from there. So archaeology, I love foreign countries and cultures. So Peru has been a place that I would love to go my whole life, probably since I first learned that Peru was a thing. And Machu Picchu, and in the story I actually talk about another place that's a little less well known because it was only discovered by people outside of the Peruvian culture just maybe in the last 20 years. It's called Octa Falls, and it's like one of the tallest waterfalls in the world. Super cool. There's a tale about maybe there being like some kind of mermaid in the pool that steals people, sort of stuff. I can't remember the exact tale. But
mermaids and waterfalls, and I'm there.
Yes. Rainforests, high in the mountains, anyway, so all of that really inspired me along with this cover, and that's where the Forever Door came out. Of course, it's kind of a mix of science fiction, history, and fantasy, because it's a portal fantasy toward the end. That's why it's called the Forever Door, of course. But I had a lot of fun writing it. I would love to see more stories come out of it, but I have so many stories going on right now, either in my head or written down or started, that it's kind of on a back burner unless there's this influx of people saying, hey, I really would like to read more of that, or what happens to these characters, or why are they even doing this? If people start asking questions, then of course I'm going to put other things on hold and follow that trail.
I'm asking, so.
Okay.
You've got at least one.
Thanks.
Yeah, I've been wondering if you were still working on that or if you were doing other things. So.
Yeah, it's still in a back burner. I have lots more plotting that has gone on beyond that. I tried to reduce actually a longer story down into a shorter format to fit it in there. So that doesn't always work out very well. So it might feel a little rushed in places. And I think that's one thing that makes short stories difficult, when all of a sudden your short story has turned into a long story. And keeping it a short story, you just have to choose just a chunk of time, a small chunk of it, and keep it kind of simple in order to fit it in as an actual short story. So I'd love to expand it, though.
Well, I hope you do. I can't wait to read it. So we are celebrating, part of the reason for us doing this is we're celebrating 6 months of the Crux being out. So what kind of reactions, I guess, have we had from readers? Like, have you heard any interesting things from people that maybe you hadn't expected? Or even from the other authors?
Not a lot. I'm looking over here because I printed out some of the reviews that we've gotten for the Crux Anthology. We've gotten a few, and most of them have been really encouraging. A lot of times, and I encourage people to do this, if you've read it, you don't have to comment on all the stories. You can just comment on the ones that you liked best, and that's great, because no matter what, you're supporting those authors, and you're also supporting Compassion International when you buy that book, even if you only really, really, really liked 2, 3, 7, 16 stories in the book.
Very true.
One of my favorite comments was by a gal named Terry.
Oh, I actually know who she is. She is a friend of mine. She lives in my town. So yay.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. She was great because she said there's just so much here. The book contains many authors that are new to her, and she liked to visit the new worlds between the covers. So I thought that was really cool. And then she also enjoyed not only your story, which was one of her favorites, but she also enjoyed Restore. And I'll just show you the contents of the book. Okay, and just keep in mind, three stories are first, second, and third place, and then all the rest of the stories are just organized randomly. She enjoyed Restore, and that's on page 178, and I'll just show you what it looks like in here while we're here. This is Restore, the interior, and a lot of the stories have this little blurb kind of about what you can expect in the story. And this one was by Angie Thompson, and her little blurb is, abandoned and alone, or are they? After Merrick's ship is wrecked on a barren planet, companionship is the least of his worries, but when he rescues a strange girl from a watery death, their lives will change in ways neither of them could have predicted. As unseen dangers threaten, the two must band together for survival, and in the process, uncover the secrets hidden in the forbidden world and each other. It's a really good story, and one that I think a lot of people can enjoy. That one is more along the lines of a science fiction story, and I really like the little clues that she gives throughout. And the other one was Lost and Found. So Lost and Found is on page 222. And this one, Victoria didn't give us a little blurb to put in here, so you'll just have to read her story to find out what it's about. Another really good one. I would probably say that about every single one of these, but every author has approached this cover and this challenge in a different way, and they've all brought something really special to this idea and to the compilation. So it was really fun putting it all together. There was a couple other comments I really liked too. So another one was Jimmy Leonard. He said that the Crux is a rich mixture of different settings and premises, which was really cool. And Sally Poyser said, if you like fantasy, dystopian, or science fiction stories, you'll love this anthology. So there was some really encouraging comments made by a lot of people.
Good. And I've had a lot of great feedback, from people around here who have read it who may have not written reviews yet. And I'm like, oh, have you written a review yet? But I've had a lot of really positive feedback. And, I think the cool thing is in here, because there are 16 different stories by 16 different authors, you're going to find something you like. If you like to read, you're going to find something you like. But you're probably going to be surprised and discover something that you wouldn't have expected that you would like.
Exactly. I agree. And I definitely discovered that reading the stories. And all the work that all the authors put into it afterward, I just have to give props to everyone, because I didn't just say, send your story and we'll just publish it as is. I made everybody go back and do revisions and editing and fixing. And in the end, everyone came back with such positive attitudes, and they worked really hard and made some big changes in some of the stories. And then you, Joy, you came in, and at the end, when I was rushing to try to get all the editing done, you came through and helped me with that last proofreading and editing, and I really appreciate that, by the way.
You are
a big
so
deal.
welcome. And that happens to be one of my favorite things to do, so I'm glad that I was able to do it.
Well, a little sidetrack here. Can you tell us about Logos and Mythos?
Oh, yes. Okay, so I just launched my press. So I'm an indie author as well, or will be, I guess, whatever. Will be. That's true. So my debut novel will be out in the fall, and I decided that I wanted to set up my own press to start with to publish my books, and also some books that I'm co-authoring with some friends, and down the road, maybe publish some other authors' works. So
I think that's fantastic.
I'm super excited about it. And I also have my editing services under my press, so everything is kind of in a nice cohesive little bundle. My friend and I are just starting a podcast as well, and that's going to be kind of under the, we're saying that we're collaborating with Logos and Mythos Press, which I love that word.
Fantastic. Yes, collaborating. It's perfect. Yes. And I would totally recommend your editing services. You're astute, you're easy to work with, you have great things to recommend and say, and you make it really easy. So
thank you.
It's really great working with you.
I really appreciate it. You can make me cry.
Good. It's always best when you can say something with your whole truthful heart and know that it's affecting someone in a good way. So it's good.
Aww, I love it. Well, So let's see. I can't remember. Okay, what else were we going to talk about? The
We need
giveaway.
to talk about the giveaway. Yes.
Yes.
I got all my notes here so I didn't forget. Yeah, so the giveaway, we've been selling the book for 6 months now. It came out November. Oh no, my mind just went blank. Is it 24th or 27th?
20 something.
Oh no, one of those days. 20 something. It was 24th or 27th,
Yes.
somewhere in there.
20 something.
Oh my god, my poor book. Our book's birthday. I forgot it.
Oh no.
How do you do that, right?
26. I think is it the 20? Oh, I don't know.
Is it the 26th?
We're gonna have to look it up.
Right. It's the 26th. It's in between those two dates. There you go. So we're in this month of its life, and I wanted to celebrate not just by like talking about it, but by actually giving presents. Not to the book, of course, but to give the book as presents to people. So no obligation, no requirement. We're giving away 250 free copies of the ebook of the Crux Anthology, and we'll include the link to that in the comments down below, or the little information section. So that'll be there. And then you can get your own ebook copy. It can be Kindle, it can be just whatever e-reader that you use, whatever tablet. And you'll get your free copy. If you decide when you're done reading the book that you want to review it, we are not going to turn that away. Reviews are authors. And I know most people are like, oh, I don't know what to say. You just say whatever's on your mind about the book. What you liked, especially, is important. What you didn't like, if you really wanted to say that, that's okay. We will take any comment that you have, and anything that you say constructively is going to help us as authors. And we also are really encouraged, and authors in general, I think, are very sensitive creatures. So your words really do matter, encouragement especially, because sometimes we do get discouraged and we're like, why are we even writing? But this is something that we're passionate about. This is something that we work really hard at. And that's something that when you do a review, you're showing us that you appreciate it. So if you review it, that's great. Not required, though. The book is totally free. It is a gift, a celebration, a present.
Yeah. And you will love it. There will be at least one story in there that you're going to love. I guarantee it.
At least.
Yeah, at least.
For sure. And I feel like I wanted to say something else about the free book, but I can't think what it was. Apparently my notes aren't as good as I thought they were.
Well, and another thing too is I know some people may not have an e-reader, or maybe they would prefer the print book. So it is available on Amazon, and
and Barnes & Noble, really anywhere that you could buy a book, you can get this book. And if you go into your local bookstore and they don't have it on the shelf, they don't have it on the shelf. A lot of times your local bookstore can order a copy for you. Also, ask for it, request it at your local library. They can also get copies for you. So your local library can order it. It's free to you. They love hearing about books that you want. So go to your local library and request a copy of the book as well.
Absolutely. My library ordered 2. And that was amazing. And I was so excited. And then I saw it on the shelf and I was like, oh, that's my name.
Oh, you're there. Making it into the library. You made it.
That's a pretty special moment for any writer.
It really is. Yeah, it really is. I agree.
So
when it comes to the book, when you buy those copies, again, all the proceeds, even when your library buys those books, the proceeds, the profit, anything that doesn't cost printing and all that kind of fun stuff, all of that goes to Compassion International. I don't keep any of it. None of the authors keep any of it. It's really our donation, our thank you for you guys buying that book.
So, and that's why, we want you to leave reviews, because what some people don't realize is the more reviews, that kind of helps put the book into the reader's spotlight, so more readers will find out about it, and so that actually will just help even more. So if you take that, 2 minutes or whatever to leave a review, that just helps more readers find out about it and purchase it, and more money gets to go to Compassion International.
Exactly. And we would definitely want that to happen.
Absolutely.
So, Facebook. We
Oh,
have the
yes.
Crux Crew Facebook page,
Mhm.
which I think we're going to want to convert to a group because Facebook's making a lot of changes to how things are accessible and how often people find out. Groups just tend to be more active, and we'd like to make sure that people feel like they can participate. So we're probably going to transition our page to a group.
Okay.
But for now, we have the Crux Crew page where people can get updates and make comments and find out more, share reviews if you want to talk about the book with anyone or a particular story. And then there's also lots of information that's available on my website under it's rachaelritchie.com and then the Crux Anthology with dashes in between. And you can find out lots of information there. Maybe we'll put that in the notes too.
Yeah, definitely. And that's a great resource too, because I know one of the things about the contest was you needed to be PG-13 or below in the content.
Yes.
And that was another thing that drew me to it. I love that. Because this way, this is something that, we can read with our kids and stuff like that. And so on your site, you have information about words or content that some people might be concerned about in some of the stories. And you give that detailed information. And that really helps parents. So I love that you did that.
Yes, I totally agree. Thank you. Yeah, it was a really good idea. I wish I could remember one of the authors brought it up. And I thought, oh, yeah, we should do that. We should put something together. Because they wanted to know what they should expect reading some of the stories. And I only ever said, well, PG-13 content and below, but that could mean a lot of things to a lot of people. I mean, if you watch a movie from the 80s that's rated PG-13, it's actually a lot more risque than like PG-13 movies today. It's surprising, really, if you think about it. But
Yeah.
like movies that I watched on cable TV back then at a PG-13 rating, if you watch them not on cable, there's things in there I didn't know were in there.
True.
So it was a really helpful piece of information for people. So it tells you what to expect as far as words used or there's violence or anything like that. But there's nothing beyond what you would see in a PG-13 movie, and most of the stories are actually quite a bit less.
Right. Yeah, a lot of the stories don't even have any disclaimers on them. So that's super super impressive.
Yeah, they're great though. I enjoyed every single one of them.
So let's see. I feel like there was one other thing I was going to ask you, and now it's slipped my mind.
I probably it's all over the place.
But it's good. So yeah, if I don't remember, which looks like my brain has just gone on vacation, please get your free e-copy, or if you want to purchase it, if you prefer the hardcover, the paperback print version, like I do. I still prefer books. They smell. They have a smell.
It's so pretty.
And it's a wonderful smell. So you can get those anywhere you buy your books, and request it at your library, request it at your local bookstore. Your independent bookstores love to hear recommendations from you, too. So, yay. Oh, is that mine? That's mine.
Yours.
Oh, yay. I know I get the special second place. Oh, that's so special.
Symbol right here. Yeah, so the first, second, and third place each got their little badge at the top. And with, say it for me so that I know I'm saying it right. Eliberel Awakens.
Eliberel, yes. Eliberel.
Eliberel, okay. Eliberel Awakens. Elspeth has accepted her calling, fairy shepherdess. She journeys to Temple Tapeum.
Tapeum.
Is that how you say that?
Yes.
Tapeum. Tapeum. I'll get it. Where she must pass several trials to awaken her power in order to begin her training. And that's just a great opening, and the short story is a great opening to a series. So you did a really great job with that.
Oh,
our first place winner was, you're welcome, chosen for the Fox Dance. This one is a really interesting beginning also to a series that R.J. Rada is writing. And then our third place went to The Blue Rose by Audrey Driscoll, and also another really fun fantasy world. And just the world building in all three of your stories was fantastic. And I think that that really is what puts you over the edge on those winter places. But all the stories within the book, they all have something great and interesting to offer, a different take on that cover. And I'm so excited about the book. So I definitely want people to get their free copies. Get it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You will enjoy it. And so I get to read yours then. Since you read mine, I get to read yours.
Okay.
Okay. So here is hers. It is The Forever Door by Rachael Ritchie. History has seen its share of violence and the conquest of man. And now that same history has caught up with Owen McFadden when his archaeologic expert sister's passion for the unimaginable unknown leaves him no choice other than to join her on the quest of the millennium, a dangerous hunt for the forbidden, deep in the cloud forests of Peru. I love it. And you have the prologue on your website. So if you're waiting for your book to arrive, or you haven't clicked download, or you're waiting for it to download, there you go. You can go over to her website and read the prologue.
Perfect. I love it.
Yeah, anything else you can think of?
I don't know. I think when it comes to writing books and all the process of putting this together, it was a lot of work, not just for me, but for all the authors. But together, putting this out there and all the work, it's painful. And people compare writing to birthing, like having kids, right? These are your book babies. And that analogy, even though having a baby is way more painful, just to be clear.
Very true.
In the physical sense. In the mental sense, the things that you go through when you write a book, it is a lot like birthing a baby. And this is your book baby. And when it comes together and you've gone through all the process, all the pain, you happen to go to find an agent or a publisher, that's a painful process. And if you decide to self-publish, that's a painful process. There's so much work involved in either route that you take. And I admire every author I know who strives for that, to do their best. So putting this book together, how much pain it was to take the time to edit, to talk to the authors, to format it, to make sure that I didn't miss anything important in anyone's story, all that. And then seeing the book, it's like all that pain is erased. Just like when you have a baby, you've been through all this awful pain. You just forget after it happens, and then you do it again. And you're thinking, why am I doing this again? Because you love the pain, you love what comes out of it. And I love my children, and I love my book babies. So I'm really, really proud of this book and everyone who contributed to it. I guess that's really what I want to say. And that's why I'm really excited to celebrate with the free books.
That's wonderful, and I'm super excited, and everybody involved has really been amazing. And
They really have.
It's just so neat. Like, just read about each of the authors, because in the back, Rachael put in our bios and information about where you can see more about us. Okay, so all of the bios and pictures, you can even see pictures of the authors and all that kind of stuff. That was me with long hair, yes. And you can find out more about them and see what they're writing and other things about them. But I think it's so neat that they've come from all different countries, all different ages, all different backgrounds. Yes. Like, it's just so neat to see that come together in something like this.
It really is. I agree.
Thank you for having the vision for it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And you're welcome. There's that nerve coming out again. Thank you, you're welcome, all at once.
Hey, we're all nerds. We understand. We speak the language.
Yes. That's A-okay. Sorry, I'm trying to think of what other nerdy thing I do.
Oh, I love it. All right. Well, anything else you can think of to add?
I can't think of anything else. Just get your free copy. I'll keep saying that.
Absolutely. Okay, so we will have in the comments wherever we post this, because I'm sure we'll post it in several different places. You'll get all the links for where to find those free copies and all the other information.
Perfect. Thank you,
Thank
Joy. I
you.
really appreciate this.
Oh, you are so welcome, and thank you for joining me.
Of course, anytime.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.